Hi, everyone. I'm Kara Sundlin. It is Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Let's take a look at what was happening in Connecticut on this day in history. 1 year ago, the CDC announced vaccines for COVID-19 would be made available soon, and healthcare workers would be the first in line. Here's Chief Political Reporter Susan Raff with that.
With COVID cases on the rise, there is some hope. Vaccines by Pfizer and Moderna are now waiting for approval.
And I understand that is very, very different than any other vaccine that's ever been out before, but I think that the science behind it is sound, and I feel that the vaccine itself is not only very effective, but also safe.
Hartford Healthcare expects to distribute a COVID vaccine to the general public starting in early spring. But those on the front line are likely to get the vaccine sooner. That process should begin in mid-December, with 20,000 initial doses for healthcare workers, first responders, and nursing home patients.
How concerned have you been as a healthcare worker about COVID?
Well, for a healthcare worker that had gotten COVID myself.
Seth Winkleman has recovered from COVID and believes he got the virus where he works. Seth takes care of developmentally disabled adults who have medical issues as well. These adults live in a group home setting and may have been infected by staff early on. He understands the need to vaccinate those on the front line first, but feels all healthcare workers, not just those who work in hospitals, should be included.
Felt that the governor was prioritizing the hospitals and giving the nurses and doctors in the hospitals all the tests and testing for them, putting them up in homes. And they kind of left out the workers that are really working on the front line with the people that are really sick.
5 years ago today, President Donald Trump was transitioning to the White House. Channel 3's Kenneth Craig brought us that story.
President-elect Donald Trump got a tour of the factory where he brokered a deal to keep about 1,000 jobs in America. Then he rallied with some of the workers around the plant.
Companies are not going to leave the United States anymore without consequences.
According to Fortune, Mr. Trump personally called Greg Hayes, CEO of Carrier's parent company, United Technologies, and promised corporate tax rate reductions which would dwarf the $65 million a year the company would have saved through outsourcing to Mexico. Carrier announced it was closing the plant in February.
To Monterrey, Mexico.
Mr. Trump talked about Carrier in his campaign speeches and pledged to make it harder for the company to leave if he became president.
He stood up for us, from the get-go. Nobody else would. He stood up for us, and he's made good on his promise.
For the workers and their families, the announcement is a big relief.
How big of a deal is this for you that Carrier is now staying here?
It's very big. It's exciting news. I mean, just last week we were still sitting down thinking, what are we going to do?
But it's not all good news. While 1,000 jobs will be saved, not everyone will be kept on.
Now it's just coils and furnaces, but the coils are going to Mexico.
Hundreds of jobs are still expected to be outsourced. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Indianapolis.
And on this day, 15 years ago, the state Capitol Police swore in a new police chief. Channel 3's Eric Parker brought us this report.
After 2 decades with the Hartford Police, Michael Fallon began a new job today.
To the best of my ability, so help me God.
Chief Michael J. Fallon, congratulations.
I happened by this building more times than I can remember. Especially as a young boy growing up, and then all through my life, and as a police officer of 23 years serving the city, I never imagined that I would be here being sworn in as chief of police.
Fallon replaces outgoing State Capitol Police Chief Bill Morgan, who led the department for 6 years.
Both the outgoing chief and the new chief admit working at the state capitol is going to be very different from working for Hartford Police.
Being kind of lost in a city and saying Elm Street's down there and take a right, and here it's, where do I find the finance committee and how do I get this bill to pass to become a law?
I look forward to the new challenges, and there's still the same challenge that you're a law enforcement officer.
Fallon leaves behind the Hartford Police and Chief Daryl Roberts.
He's a true professional. He's going to do a wonderful job here. He has all the tools. The only advice I can give him is that, don't stop calling me, because we call each other all the time.
And Fallon says what makes the move easier is that he'll be right near his old department and his friends. In Hartford, Eric Parker, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
That's a look at today in history.